some of the things that happen, especially when some of your family members get intoxicated.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes, I'm sure that is very funny.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, our objective for this session is that by the end of this session, we'll be able to explain narration. We'll be able to describe the difference between first-person and third-person narration. We'll be able to use creativity to write a narrative story free of grammatical errors. And note, this paper story will not be in the 3.5 essay format. The stories are in story format or narration format. And then, of course, our overall objective for the class is to be able to effectively write a 3.5 essay with minimal grammatical errors. Okay, questions about the objectives?
No.
Okay.
No.
All righty. Well, what's narration? When you narrate, you tell a story about what happened. Plain and simple, that's all. You're just telling a story. And examples, you may write about the week's events. Maybe you'll write about what you did during vacation, or maybe you'll write about what happened in a novel. And so basically you're just telling something that happened. Narration enhances other types of writing, and the reason why it does that because it's detailed, it paints a picture, and it includes examples. And these are some of the things that we actually do in our 3.5 essay. We give details, we give examples, and sometimes we paint a picture. Okay. Questions about any of this?
No.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. First-person narration, that's kind of like an autobiography. So when you think of first-person narration, you think of using words like I and we. And an example of that is, when I was a child, I thought that the world began and ended with me. I didn't know or care how other children felt. Thus, when schoolmates ridiculed a shy boy, I gleefully joined in. And so when you're thinking about first person, if that's what you chose to write in, you would use I, me, we, all of those statements because it's first person. So it's basically as if you're telling the story about yourself. Okay, does everyone understand first person?
Yes.
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 Third person is a little bit different. It's a biography. So it's telling experiences that are not referring to your own. This story is going to be about somebody else. And so you would use he, she, it, or they when you're writing in third person. So basically you would be telling a story about someone else. So the students gathered to protest against the war. One student threw a chair through the window of the student center. Suddenly people started pushing and shoving. So this would be third person. If you were to write a story in third person, maybe about someone in your family, like your mother or your father, you may occasionally use my, because you might say my mother went to the store, or my father moved to this country in 1965, so something like that. So you may occasionally use my, but that's because you're referring back to your mother or father, but it's still a story about somebody else when you use third person. Okay, so does everyone understand the difference between third person and first person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all righty. And before you write anything, you're going to think about, especially for narration, or specifically for narration, you're going to think about choosing an interesting topic. So if you're thinking about writing your story for this assignment coming up Friday, you might want to think about what will interest the reader. And not only that, you want to also answer these questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how about the text. So thinking about an interesting topic, what will interest the reader, and then answering the question. So who did this, or what did they do? When did they do it? Where did they do it? Why and how? And so if you kind of think about these questions, this will kind of help you tell your story. Let's brainstorm and think about a topic, and the topic here can be an embarrassing incident at college or work. So thinking about that topic, give me some things maybe. Well, before I ask that question, let me tell you that you don't have to have 3 supporting points, because remember, this is not 3.5 essay format. You can have more or fewer for narrative. Sorry. Didn't mean to click. But let's brainstorm and think about an embarrassing incident at college or work, and then just kind of think about some things that go with that that may interest the reader and that will ask who, what, when, where, why, and how. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about an embarrassing incident at work or college?
At college, this is Latundra, I think about when you're sure that you have the right answer, but it's the wrong answer.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Good.
And you stating it out loud.
Yeah, good, like you're really sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Anybody else?
Dolores Douglas, when you actually come, when you actually submit your paper and you come up there with your folder and you take your paper out and you found out that you have the wrong folder and you left the correct one at home.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Good one. All right. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. This past semester, I took a public speaking class, and you had to present a speech every week, and I just felt like I was very embarrassed doing so, but, you know, I conquered the whole assignment once the class was over, but I was just embarrassed every time I got up there, which would cause me to be just going all off in left field.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes, and I can see that. Good answers. Really good. Okay. I want to show a quick clip, and it's just dealing with narration. And so hopefully you can hear this now that I have my sound working. Okay.
Narrating is storytelling. We narrate every day. To write a narration paragraph, you simply tell a story with a point to it. To make your narrative interesting, follow these guidelines. 1. Make sure your story has a point. State that point in your topic sentence. If there's no point to your story, it will become very boring very quickly. Let me tell you what happened in my class last period. I learned my lesson about preparing for a test. I'll begin studying earlier, so I'll have a chance to make an A. 2. Use the 5 W's and 1 H to construct your story. Who, what, when, where, why, and how can help you include all the details you need to make your point. 3. Use examples and details to develop your story. You want your readers to be able to picture the scenes you describe. On Monday, I sat at my desk ready to study, but I looked out the window and it was too nice a day to stay inside. So I climbed out the window and joined a group of guys across the street practicing basketball shots. 4. Organize your narration so your readers can easily follow it. Most narratives are organized chronologically, according to time sequence. Begin with a topic sentence and then arrange your details in the order they happened. Using transitions such as first, then, and next will make your narrative smooth. I had a study plan, but I kept putting off getting started. First, I quit to go play basketball. Then, I was hungry and raided the refrigerator. Next, I needed a nap. When I finally sat down to study, I was out of time. After you write your first draft, revise it. When you are satisfied with your revision, apply the editing checklist.
Okay. Questions about that?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Notice that they also said to make sure that you have a point for your story, and also to use transition words. Transition words are really important because they help your paper flow better. And so, you know, those there's a wide range of transition words listed in our textbook, and I want to say it's in chapter 2 or 3. And they're in every chapter. They might give you a couple in every chapter. And so for our narration or our story, you might want to reference Chapter 5, which kind of helps with how to begin to write, how to come up with the topic, make sure that topic is interesting to the readers, and then you're using those questions asking who, what, where, when, and how. Also make sure that you're revising it, that you're proofreading and you're editing. So after you finish, you want to proofread thoroughly. Again, I still make mistakes because I'm typing too fast. Sometimes my brain is thinking faster than I can get it out, or my fingers are moving faster than my brain gets it out, and so I skip words sometimes, misspell words. Make sure you use Spellcheck, and always read what Spellcheck is telling you. Sometimes Spellcheck is incorrect, so you need to make sure if they're telling you to respell something or do something over, make sure that that is the mistake and that it's not just asking you to do something that maybe you're not required to do, because some things don't need changing. But it is helpful to use Spellcheck and maybe to get someone else to read it as, you know, a second pair of eyes sometimes will catch something that we miss. All right. Questions about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I want us to reflect on what we just talked about and kind of like a quick post test. So in narrative writing, do anyone think of what goes in the blank?
Tell a story?
Okay. Very good. Is that LaTondra?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Tell a story. What are the differences between the two types of narration? In this one, the writer describes what happened from his or her point of view using I or we. What narration, what type is that?
Is it first person?
Person.
Very good. First person. The next one, the writer describes what happened to someone else. That's what?
Third person.
Third person.
Very good. Third person. What are some questions that you should ask yourself when you write a narrative?
What do you want to write about?
Okay, the who, what, and I heard, and that's the same thing. What are you supposed to write about? So same thing, very good. Who, what, when, why, and how. And then the last question, what organizational method or transitional, and I may not have asked you this, or you may not remember, but it was from the video. So what organizational method, transitional expression is commonly used in a narrative?
Time order.
Chronological order.
Time order. Okay, and I did hear that, so very good. Time order. Good. Okay, going back to our objectives, did we or will we explain narration? Is everyone clear on what narration is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Did we describe the difference between first person and third person narration?
Yes.
Okay. Will we be able to use creativity to write a narrative story free of grammatical errors?
Not sure.
Let it try.
Hopefully. This one will probably be the easiest paper, again, because it's not in 3.5 essay. So it's really just writing a creative story. And I did a page limit on it. You know, I didn't say that it had to be so many pages. I probably should have, but I did not. So I would hope that you be creative and at least have 3 or 4 pages. I do want to go back and look at my story before we leave, and then just kind of go through this narrative checklist. The checklist just asks you to, does your topic sentence clearly express the topic of the narration? So just think about that when you're writing. Does your topic sentence contain a controlling idea that is meaningful and interesting? And so when you're thinking about a topic sentence for narration, don't think that it has to be so formal, because this could be simply just what your overall paper is going to be about or your story is going to be about. So that going back to the most embarrassing moment for college or work, maybe when the father found his first job in America, maybe those things that changed your life. So something like that, okay? And then does your narration answer most of these questions, the who, what, when, where, and how? Do you use transitional expressions that help you clarify the order of events? And then do you include details to make the narration more interesting? My narration story that I use may not have followed some of those things. So just try to go beyond and make sure you look at that checklist. And I want to come back to the wrap-up because I want to show you my story real quick.
Professor Henry?
Go ahead.
Can I ask, it's Dolores, I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
What happens when you're writing your essay, and I know we're supposed to write like for transitional words like first, this happened, and second and third, or you could use then and next or finally. So I know every transitional word or every paragraph, every next paragraph after you finish the first one won't necessarily or won't make sense to start with secondly, because I find myself when I'm writing, I think the last couple of pages, 2 pages that I wrote, I went with the first, second, and third. But it don't necessarily always make sense to use that, or you try to change your wording around so that it could fit putting second as the starting off that second paragraph, or third to start off the third paragraph. I don't always want to necessarily have to follow to it just to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. So I guess that I'm looking for help on that.
Okay, and that's a very good question, Dolores. Good question. And that's why I tell you to reference Chapter 3. My book is different from your book. I have an older edition, so I can't tell you what page, but I want to say somebody told me that they were on page 93 or 97, that there are a whole list of transitional words or expressions. And so you don't necessarily have to use first, second, or third all the time. You can use more, most importantly, of course, likewise, nevertheless, besides, moreover, next. I mean, there are a whole list of them. And you might, if you have your book in front of you, you might want to check 93 and tell me if that's the correct page.
I know for a fact it's Chapter 2.
It's Chapter 2 in your book. Okay, so in mine it's Chapter 3.
Okay. On page 97, I do see some transitional words and expressions.
Okay, so you can use any of those that make sense, so you won't have to always use first, second, and third, because you're right, they don't, first, second, and third doesn't always go with your paragraph, and so you may use some other ones. Therefore, in conclusion, suddenly, meanwhile, and I encourage you to use some other ones.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Dolores?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions? And if you have any questions, just jump in.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
About the Storybird. Are we going up there looking at the illustrations, making up a story with the illustrations, or is it, because I tried to log on and I was able to see all of the illustrations, but I weren't able to read the story.
Okay, you're going to pick your own illustrations, and good question, April. You're going in with the username and password that I gave you, and you'll actually create a story. So it should be a button that says Create, and let me see. And you should be able to, can you see my screen? So
yeah.
Once you logged in, you should see, you may not see classes, I'm not sure, but you should see this button that says Create. And so you'll click Create, and then you'll choose your artwork. And you could choose your artwork, or you can choose a theme, or you can choose a challenge. Any one of these will give you artwork that you can start with. And if you wanted to see more artwork, you can do that. Or if you wanted to choose a theme, like monkeys or snowy, wandering, any of these, or if you wanted to see more themes, you could do that. We'll click Cartoon. And then kind of pick something that maybe appeals to you. Let's see. And they're going to give you like a whole, let's pick this dog. So you'll see over here to the right side that there are going to be like some more pictures. So you can start a Storybird with this art, or you can go back and get something else. But we can just look at this one. So if we start a storyboard with this one, you see on the sides, it gives you a whole range of artwork. So maybe you want to make this your cover, and so it tells you to start writing here. So you can click and just kind of start writing maybe your title, I don't know, something funny, however you want to begin. And then you would go to picking another piece of artwork or something that will go. And the only thing you're doing is dragging the pictures to the side. If you want to add a page, down here at the bottom where it says add a page or remove a page, you could do either one of those. So you can add a page, add artwork, and then type something about this. Okay, add another.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, once you start to go and pick the icons that you're going to choose to write about, you're asking that it at least be 4 pages of, I guess, whatever type of artwork you're picking, correct, or entitled to that story.
Yes,
Okay, and you're going to go ahead on and walk us through the finished product?
Yeah, I'm actually going to let you look at my finished product, which was, mine was okay, but I probably could have did something a little bit better. But yes, and I can come back to this too, because I do want you to understand. So hopefully before you leave, if you still don't understand, then just let me know and we can continue to look at it again. This is what I picked. I picked this theme of just a couple, and I just kind of came up with a story off the top of my head. And so that's why I said it's really not that good, because I don't think I use transition words. So keep that in mind, and maybe we can figure out places that we can add them in. But I titled it, I Really Didn't Know Him. And so I just kind of made this a cover because it looks like 2 people are in love. And then the next page just says, we spent the whole day together, and I was so tired. I knew that it was getting late, and I should go home, but I could not bring myself to get up. I was comfortable in his strong arms, and I could stay there forever. And so, I was trying to pick pictures that could actually go with what I was talking about, okay? And so then the next picture I just kind of picked some pictures that I thought were kind of fun, and I kind of let the pictures dictate what I wrote. So I just kind of looked through the pictures that were on the side and said, oh, that looks interesting, and so then I just kind of wrote from there. And so this part is just talking about the 5-story window. There was the gossip group, the group of women that were waiting for me to leave to say that she was so stupid, he doesn't love her, he has a different woman every night, and I was just in his apartment this morning. But they didn't know that I could hear them, but he did love me, and I could feel his love. But then the story has kind of like a twist to it, because you think this couple is so in love, but then she finds out. I had no clue that he had a family. I don't know how he had the time. I was always with him. The days we spent walking in the park, where was his family then? The times we sat cuddling together, where was his family then? And so it goes through different pictures of this couple who was supposed to be so in love, but the man was actually married. The nights he tucked me in bed and kissed me goodnight, where was his family then? The nights we parked and counted the stars, where was his family then? But his family was there. They had always been there. So this is supposed to be the guy and his family. I just couldn't see them because I didn't want to see them. So maybe a woman who knows a man is married but doesn't want to believe it.
Okay.
In the end. So I just kind of let the pictures somewhat dictate what I wrote. And so you may want to just play around in Storybird. This is my first time actually working with Storybird. So I thought that it was really interesting, the different pictures that they give you to actually go in and come up with a story. And so, again, any kind of theme that you want or any kind of picture, so really kind of wherever you want to begin. So if you think about starting a Storybird here, you could add your picture first, and there are so many pictures, and maybe we can call this Double Dutch, even though it doesn't look like Double Dutch, but but it's a rope. And then add a page. And really, I guess that could be the cover, so we can move this. I don't know if y'all can see me moving this over to the cover. But it won't let me, so let me see. Okay. And then the first page, maybe you want to talk about or say something about, you know, what they're doing. The next page, you may want to add another picture. And maybe whatever you want to talk about here. And another picture. And so if you're talking about maybe double dutch, maybe you want to think about pictures that have to do with outdoors, like the bicycle and riding, the leaves. And I think there's another picture. Let's see. Okay, about someone walking a dog. And so then you'll just add your story part over to the side. So basically you just kind of pull your pictures, put them in there, and then write your story. And you may have to kind of play around with the different artwork to find something that appeals to you. And you can also search artwork. So are there any questions about this part right here?
No.
No,
Does
ma'am.
anyone understand? Go ahead.
No.
Okay, does everyone understand how to go in and actually get the pictures and then make up the story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so once you're finished with your story, like once you have it, you can go here to the menu at the top right-hand corner, and you're going to save and close. And I want to say you may have to publish, but if you're logged in underneath the username and password that I gave you, it should be shown when I go back to classes. I should be able to see that you have a story. And I've already had one student that has posted theirs, but I should be able to see your stories once you put them in under that username and password. And I went through and did that so that all of the stories could be at one place and I wouldn't have to kind of go find them. Okay, and does anyone have any questions about logging in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, the login password that you gave us, and the username that you gave us, and the temporary password that you gave, I changed it. It told me I would have to change the password. Will you still be able to view it?
Mm-hmm, I will. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes,
and
that's no problem.
I also read an email where you were saying submit it through MGL. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. With NGL, because there are like sections in NGL that if there's no paper, there's no block for me to put a grade. So if there's nothing submitted in NGL, I won't be able to post a grade. So if you go to NGL for this assignment, you can just submit maybe your name and the title of your story, or if you want to copy and paste your story, you can do that, or if you want to submit the link. But I need to have something in NGL so I can put a grade. Does that make sense?
Okay, I didn't get what you were saying, but I have a clear understanding now.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, you can just upload a Word document that has your name and your story title on it, just so it'll be something submitted, so then it opens up a category for me to put a grade, because when there's nothing submitted, it doesn't give me the option to put a grade in. And I don't know why that is. I guess it's the way it's set up. It seemed like it would still allow me to have that option, but if there's nothing submitted, I can't enter a grade.
Okay.
Professor Henry, if this is Dolores Douglas, if we go into our NGL and submit and put our name, well, we can compose it ourselves. We hit compose, and then we hit check the final button. And if we put Dolores Douglas, Storybird completed, and the name of it, would that be acceptable?
Yes, yes. And then make sure that your Storybird is entered into Storybird. But yes, that just opens up the place for me to put the grade.
Okay.
And that is good. Yeah, very good. Okay. Are there any questions about the Storybird assignment?
No. No.
Okay. And if you have any other questions, make sure you email me. And was someone about to ask a question? Okay. No questions?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you think this was helpful?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me one thing that you'll take away from this session?
The use of narratives.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Yes, the second is,
Go ahead. What were you saying? The second and...
I'm sorry, the first and the third person narration.
Okay, good. Very good. And anybody else?
Yes, and better use of transitional words.
Okay, yes. Very good. Very good. Okay, well, that is all that I have. I try not to take up too much of your time because I know it is valuable. And if there are no more questions, I did not mean to do that. If there are no more questions, you know, and again, if you have any later, please email me. The paper or the Storybird is due this Friday, midnight. And again, it may be at least 4 pages. I didn't really put a limit on it, but just make sure that it's grammatically correct, that you have did it in standard English, and it's free of errors, and make sure that if you use quotations that you put quotation marks around things that are spoken, and try to make sure that things are capitalized where they're supposed to be capitalized. That's basically what I'll be looking at for this story, that if it's creative, if it captures the reader's attention, and then if it has minimal grammatical errors. Those are the things that I'll be looking at. So this, again, will probably be one of the easiest assignments because it is one of the ones that I'll probably be a lot more lenient in grading because, again, it's not a 3.5 essay. And don't forget that our portfolios are due at the end where you'll have to have your papers that have already been turned in revised. So make sure that you're revising those papers because I know we revised the first one, but make sure those other ones, the process and the purpose essay, are being revised. Because I think next week we do another Storybird, and then the 7th week we're doing a self-assessment cover letter, rough draft, and then that last week will be your writing portfolio. So I'll go over those things within the next couple of weeks as well.
Professor Henry, can I ask one last question, please?
Yes, fine.
Concerning the discussion for this week, I just needed some clarity. You gave us an example of how to write the perfect and the past tense and using walk, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it. So what I've done, I just chose the word that I was going to write about and wrote it in all its tenses. And after that, I wasn't sure if you wanted us to write a sentence concerning that or just write the purpose why and the need for it being done in that order. Or did you want us to just list a certain amount of words in its past tense or present tense?
You're fine, and I remember your email. I was supposed to go back and look at that, Dolores, and email you back, and I forgot because I was supposed to go back and look at this week's syllabus. I did not actually write the syllabus, and so a lot of the things on here, I'm having to look at them as well to get clarity. Can you tell me, because I have the whole week, but it doesn't give me the breakdown for week 5. Can you tell me what it asks? And if you don't have it in front of you, that may be, so I may have to go back and look at it and then email you because I can't remember exactly what it asked, and I want to make sure I give you the right answer.
Yes, ma'am, I have it up. It says
Okay.
list. It says list, and then in quotation marks you have present, future, past, progressive, et cetera, et cetera. All verb tenses, and give an example using one verb. For example, walk, walk, walks, walk, will walk, et cetera, et cetera. Do not use a root word already presented by classmates. Based on your reading and your ongoing experiences as a writer, why are these grammatical rules helpful or necessary for clear fall?
Okay. And what I remember what you put in your email. That is fine. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is. As long as you're using an example of those different tenses of verbs and then explaining why it's important. But, yeah, that is fine. I meant to get back with you. I'm so sorry, Dolores. I started reading some other emails, and then I was grading the papers and getting them out, and then I said I wanted to go back and look at the syllabus, but I never did. I ended up forgetting before I got through with the assignment.
Yes, ma'am. Let's understand. I understand.
Okay, but yeah, that was fine. I remember what you wrote because I can't remember what word you used, but I do remember that you conjugated it and also gave examples, so that was fine.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and again, if you have any later, please email me. I'm always reading and checking the emails, and you know I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. And I appreciate all of you joining me for this conference call. I am not sure if we'll have a conference call next week, only because it's the same assignment. So I may just send out a brief email, just kind of reminding you that you're doing the same type of narrative again, except I think next week is asking you to put yourself in the story a little bit more and make it kind of like an autobiography. So I may just kind of explain that, but I'm not sure if there's a need for a conference call for that one. Now, the week after that, I'm sure we'll have to have one because I want to explain those last two assignments. So you guys can let me know by email if you think it's needed, and, you know, if not, then we'll kind of give a week a break and then go on. I just kind of want to do this just to help because I know sometimes when you're taking an online class, it's really hard to understand what is needed of you when you're not able to talk to the teacher and ask questions. So again, I appreciate you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for giving us this conference call.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you. You're welcome. So welcome. Well, if there's nothing else, we can sign off, and I will download this. It should be up and ready sometime this afternoon, so if someone else needs to see it that wasn't able to attend, or if you need to go back and look at it again, it'll be downloaded. And I forgot to hit record when we first started, so it kind of jumped right at the objective. So they missed kind of like the beginning. But I will get it posted to YouTube and send the link out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You do.
You too.
You
Okay,
too.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.